Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
One can down. So I just hit it with half a can of brake clean and kind of got the big shit off. I'm gonna go back in and spray it and wipe, try to get her a little bit more clean. I mean, I don't have the greaser and I don't have a pressure washer, so it's not gonna get as best as it could be, but brake clean does work pretty well, so.
Yep, it's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
Oh yeah.
It stings the nostrils. In a good way.
Yeah.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, honestly, that's probably about as clean as I'm going to get it. I don't want to wipe off any more of the paint, as you can see from that. The brake clean was basically wiping off the paint, but there's not as much grease anymore on the bay. Everything looks shiny and clean. Like look at that, looks fantastic. Cleaned up all the grease from this frame rail and the rear. So I'm happy with how clean it is currently. I have to clean up some of the axle grease from the axle boot that ripped, but the bay is clean. And I'm gonna go ahead and probably clean up some of the connectors on the harness, and then we can start piecing together the motor to put it in. Yo, what's up, guys? Back again. This time we're putting it together. We've got to get the clutch on the block. We've got to get the flywheel on. We've got to get the throttle bearing on, the transmission. I was waiting on a throttle bearing return spring, so we have to get the clutch lever mechanism back on and together. As soon as we get all that, we can get the short block and the transmission mounted in the bay, and just start getting all the little odds and ends back together. Hopefully by Sunday, we can hear it run for the first time. I'm stoked. It's been a long time coming, I guess. I mean, it's been about 6 years since I've had a B series. So I've had 3 CRXs so far. The first one I bought was a piece of junk. Bought it for I think $600 or $800, but I eventually just sent it to the scrapyard. It was a dual point DX, and it was beat to shit, so I got rid of that. And then that's when I got my second CRX. It's in some of the older videos if you want to go take a look. Rebuilt the motor, rebuilt the transmission, installed the same harness I have on this one. Finally got a B17 trans because it came with an LS. Rebuilt it, and I was going to school at the time and lost my job, yada yada yada. And long story short, it got stolen and I never found it. So that was my last B series. Then like 3 or 4 years later, I got this. It was the non-VTEC A6. Had a lot of fun beating the shit out of that. Then I swapped the Z6 into it. Had a lot of fun with that. Then I put together the Mini-Me, put it in. Served me a good almost 40,000 miles. And then now we're moving up to the B series. So It has been a long time coming, and it was worth the wait, but the wait is over. So let's get cracking. Little detour before we start. I just saw Red Bull has a winter edition. It's called Plum Twist. It's banging. I'm a fan of the peach, but this Plum Twist is pretty good. So Red Bull, sponsor me, bruh. So before we start diving into getting the block in the car, we have to install the clutch. For clutch and flywheel, I went with ACT Stage 6-puck unsprung because I like torture, and a Fidanza 7.5 pound flywheel. I love the response of the Fidanza. I had one in the single cam. It performs really well. And I also have an ACT in the single cam as well, and it's a sprung 6-puck in the single cam. Smooth. It's only chatted on me a few times, but it's held up all the beatings that I've given it, and I'm a big fan of both of these brands. The performance I'm gaining from these, I feel, is worth the price. It wasn't too expensive, but this flywheel is light as hell. That's all I'm gonna say. The revs, it's gonna be so rev happy for heel and toe and rev matching, and just shifting in general at the high RPMs. The RPMs can fall quicker, gear speeds can match quicker, shifts just get quicker overall. So that coupled with this clutch, I feel, is gonna make this car feel super responsive and solid as fuck. So let's get these installed. I'm gonna do a little bit of an unboxing, give you a look, and we'll get them installed. But this, so the Fidanza, I mean, obviously you can see it's in a Fidanza box, but the friction material has a green coating on it, and you have to get that coating off before you bed your clutch in, because that will can cause premature wear and slippage. So you definitely have to get that off. They recommend acetone, I think. Yeah, using acetone based remover. I brought some with me, so that shouldn't be too difficult to get off. But this thing just, it looks so perfect. Now look at that. Beautiful. So we're gonna have to get this green stuff off before we install it, but I brought some with me, so we should be good. These boxes are one of my favorites. But this kit comes as a full kit: throwout bearing, clutch alignment tool, the clutch itself, the diaphragm, and a brand new throwout bearing. It also comes with the grease for the throwout bearing and for the splines on the clutch disc itself. As you can see, unsprung. I can't wait. So let's get this flywheel cleaned and get it installed. So I got some acetone and some shop towel. I'm just gonna dab it onto my shop towel and see if I can wipe it off. If not, I'll just dump it on there, but kind of don't want to make a mess. So. Woo! That's strong. That looks good to me. Let's get our pilot bearing installed and use. I have brought some medium strength thread locker for the flywheel bolts. I am using the factory flywheel bolts, so figure proper torque and medium grade thread locker should be fine. I'm also going to put some thread locker on the pressure plate bolts as well, just as some added insurance. You know, you don't want this shit coming apart on you at 9K. So we took our pilot bearing, comes with the ACT clutch kit. This will slide right into the back side of the flywheel. There's like a recessed spot for it, so it looks like I might have to press it in. But this aligns the input shaft so that it doesn't like wobble around and stuff. I'm gonna tap that in real quick. Here's my buddy's dead blow. Perfect. Let me go ahead and get all our bolts set up with some thread locker, and then should be able to put it right in. You want to make sure you don't get any grease, anything, dirt, grime, anything on the friction material or on the surface here. That can cause slipping and stuff, and you definitely don't want that. So let me go ahead and grab one of our bolts.
It's made with bits
Line
of
up
real
our flywheel.
panther, so you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
And start threading these bad boys in here.
The nostrils. In a good way.
The hardest part about doing this yourself is torquing it, because as you pull the ratchet, if say you put a breaker bar on that side, it's going to want to tilt the motor, but I'm going to try and see if I can get it to hold still while I torque these and see how that goes. So the torque spec for the flywheel bolts is 87 foot-pounds. I have a breaker bar on this side on the crank pulley bolt, and I have my torque wrench set to 87 foot-pounds. I'm going to not stand, but try and hold the block down. So I have a feeling this is going to move. So let's see what we can do.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Yamaguchi. Our pressure plate bolts are 20 foot-pounds. I'm also going to be putting thread locker on those as well. So with all things that is metal or are metal, pressure plate is oiled. It says it right on here. It's oiled so it prevents rust from happening while in storage and stuff. And you have to clean it off. I got some brake clean. I'm gonna clean it off, or use my acetone here. And if you don't, you could have clutch slippage or clutch chatter, and because from the oil getting on the friction material. So you want to make sure whenever you install a clutch, anything, to make sure the surfaces are completely clean, no oil, no grease,
60%
nothing.
of the time, it works. Every time.
Now this comes with grease for the splines. I'm also going to use it for the throttle bearing on the shaft where it slides back and forth. Man, this thing is light too. There's not a lot of material here. But, so a quick explanation on the amount of clutch friction material versus like strength. So say you have a pressure plate. It takes a certain amount of force to press it. When your foot is off the clutch, that pressure plate is applying that force to the clutch disc itself, which is applying that force to the flywheel, which then creates RPM to transmission to wheels and causes the car to spin, okay? In layman's terms. The less space you have, the higher the pound per square inch is. That's why when you see people in snow with big wide tires, they skate on top of the snow because there's more distribution of weight or force, which causes it to be technically lighter. So the less space that you have, the more pressure you'll have, and then in turn more clamping force. So that with a full disc, that pressure plate has a certain amount of force. With a full disc, it would have less clamping force than this disc because there's less space here, which equals more pound per square inch. That's why these clutches can handle more power, more torque with the same pressure plate as some other clutches. This is a basic rundown.
Yep, it's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
Oh, yeah.
Stings the nostrils. In a good way.
Yep.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Yep, it's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
Oh, yeah.
Stings the nostrils.
She's torqued. All you gotta do now is
That smells like pure gasoline.
slide that bitch on out of there.
60% of the time, it works.
Yo, I gotta say, that clutch
That doesn't make sense.
looks fantastic. That thing is beautiful. Love that yellow.
Yo, what's up, guys? So it was really fucking cold yesterday, and after I got the clutch on, I just packed it up and went home. But we're back again. It's Saturday. I'm gonna try and get the motor in today, and basically have it ready to hopefully start tomorrow. That's basically the plan, but we'll see how it goes. But we're gonna get the transmission mated. We're gonna get the throwout bearing on, possibly put our camshaft seals on because we haven't done that yet. Hopefully get the engine in, mount our radiator, hoses, stuff like that. We still have to put the head on the block, so put the head on. So when you put a B series in a CRX or EF chassis, the alternator doesn't want to clear, so you sometimes have to hammer the frame a little bit. I'm going to try to avoid that. There's a little trick you can do with the D series alternator, and since I have one, I'm contemplating using it. So I have to look into it a little more, but when we get there, we'll get there. We'll see what happens when time comes. But let's get our clutch lever on with the throwout bearing and return spring and get our transmission mated. So we got everything that we need to get our clutch fork installed. This will push the throwout bearing into the clutch, and then the spring will return it. And we have to put in our speedo. These lines are power steering lines. They're meant to keep the speedo cool. I'm going to loop them and add some power steering fluid inside the speed sensor itself through one of the hoses, just so it has some fluid in there so it doesn't like seize up or anything. But those are meant to originally go to the power steering. This car doesn't have power steering, so that's not available. So I'm just going to put a little bit of power steering fluid inside and then loop the lines, and then we should be good. These two outlets are two different sizes. Go figure. But tried to use the bigger one, and it would not get tight over the smaller inlet outlet, and it would leak. I put fluid in and I started to turn it. It pumped the fluid through and it would leak. So painstakingly I put the smaller one over the bigger one. Oh my god, it was fucking difficult. But I don't think it's gonna move. Hopefully it doesn't leak. I'll check it, but this one will seal on the smaller one because it's a smaller inside diameter hose. And hopefully that stays good on there, but we'll see, I guess. I'm gonna fill it up with fluid now, and then we'll move on to the next part.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're...
Let's see if we can see any leaks. I don't see any. I know this kind of looks half-assed, but it'll work. I'm not even sure if I need to even have these lines hooked up. Like, you know, maybe they don't even really need it. I mean, they needed it from factory, so I can only assume that they might need it now, but we'll see, I guess. So now that we have that issue resolved, I'm gonna go ahead and lube up the seal with a little bit of engine assembly lube. Not much. I just want to get it a little bit lubed up so it slides in easy.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
That doesn't make sense.
And she's in. Let's move on to our clutch fork. Brand new OEM return spring. I bought this from AcuraParts.com or OEMAcuraParts.com. I think it was like $4, but I got it shipped like next day, so it was like 30. Didn't really care, needed it super fast, so.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now that we've got a transmission completely finished, all we have to do now is basically mate it to the engine. So let's get this thing together. So this really isn't too difficult to do when you have two people. I'm only here by myself right now, but I have a box underneath the engine to kind of raise it up a little bit. It'll take some finagling for sure, but I should be able to get it on. When you go to slide it on, it's not really going to want to fit because sometimes the splines aren't lined up perfectly. That's what the clutch alignment tool is for. If you use the clutch alignment tool, you should have no problem. It's a little bit of wiggling and it should go straight in. So let's see how this goes. Perfect! That made it up pretty easily. There's a small gap right now, but that's because of the dowels. Once we get the bolts in, it should close it right up. I'm gonna grab some bolts and then we can start getting this thing tightened.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an...
Our transmission is bolted to the engine. So while the engine isn't in the car, I'm going to get the starter on, and I'm also going to mount the transmission mount. So for the mounts for this swap, in the second CRX that I said got stolen, I had pulled the mounts to put brand new Hasport mounts in. And they were Hasport, but they were the older first gen version or so. So I pulled them out and I've had them forever. And when this book came up, I was like, man, I don't have to buy mounts. And so I bought just the urethane and pressed them into the mounts and got the mounts sandblasted beforehand. So they look really good sandblasted. I was contemplating painting them, but they look really good to me. So let me show you them real quick. So these are the mounts. I used oil whenever I put them together. That's why they have that like a little bit of a dark. But it's kind of hard to see on camera. But you see, there's like a small flake to it, which I think is extra dope. So I think these will fit and look really, really, really good. Let's go ahead and get our starter on. Come on, make sure the engine is an engine.
Bubby, what's that right there? What's that?
Thanks, dude. You know, if it wasn't for you, this build wouldn't be accomplished. My little helper. Careful.
What the fuck your shit up.
With our starter on, we can now mount our transmission mount. I ran to the store so that I could get some longer bolts because I didn't have the hardware to go with this kit, so I had to like put something together. So I got some bolts with some washers and lock washers. I'm gonna put some thread locker on these and get them tightened down.
bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
Now the only thing left to put on is the reverse sensor. So I'm gonna go and snag that off the single cam and we should be good to start mounting it in the engine bay. Next, we're going to install our rear mount, and then we might actually be able to get the engine mounted tonight. It's going to be kind of difficult by myself, but whatever. We make shit happen around here.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Anyone who's done mounts in a CRX knows this rear mount is a pain in the ass. And she's in. Now that the mounts are in, only thing left to do is put the motor in. I'm gonna try this by myself. I don't know how well it's gonna go, but we'll see what happens.
Stings the nostrils. In a good way.
Yeah.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Now that the motor is in the bay, I have to get it onto a piece of wood that is on the jack and try to jack it up into place without it falling off. So I'm gonna try and find a piece of wood and then give it a shot. Change of plans. Can't find any goddamn wood. So I'm gonna use 2 jacks. Put the engine oil pan on one, put the transmission on the other, and jack them up slowly. See how this goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Well, this may not work, but we're gonna try it. We're gonna send it.
Yep. It's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
Oh, yeah.
Stings the nostrils. In a good way.
Yep.
smells like pure gasoline.
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Sad part is these jacks are almost up all the way, so it's gonna get challenging. I don't know how much more these jacks have in them. I set the car up pretty high so I can get the motor out, so yeah.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Oh, it's a sketch.
Yep, it's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
Oh
I have no more jack on that side. I'm gonna see if I can get at least one bolt into this one
60% of the time,
and see what we can do.
every time.
I always do this with more than one person. I mean, more than yourself. Alright, that mount is being held on by a few threads. So I found a piece of metal, goes across the transition in the oil pan, and put it there. I'm gonna try and get this mount almost seated. That way I have more than just a few threads holding it.
I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Yep, it's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
Oh yeah.
Stings the nostrils. In a good way.
Alright, we've got one mount on.
Pure gasoline.
I don't know if you guys, yeah, you can't really see, but as I jack the motor up, that mount is going in, which is good. I'm out of jack again. You guys can see I have very little fucking space to go to get the goddamn bolt in, and I'm out of jack. Fuck. Well, let's see what we can do. Alright, so I just bled my jack because I am also using my buddy Aaron's jack. I bled my jack and I found a big old fucking block, and hopefully we can get this thing up enough to get that mount on. So
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
woo! Fuck yeah! That's how you fucking put a motor in by yourself. Woo! True test. Well, hold up. Let me tighten this one a little bit more. Bet. And got this one first. Oh, fucking car came down. That's sketch. Jack stands are good.
Yep. It's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
All right.
It's quite pungent.
So, I'm gonna stop doing that.
Stings the nostrils in a good way.
Alright,
To
cool.
be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
Let this jack down.
It works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
And we got an engine hung. That feels good. Can y'all see that? You know what that means? I was looking at this like, what the fuck is going on here? How the hell is the T-bracket gonna mount up? And then I saw it. I put the bitch in the wrong holes. So I gotta take the rear man out and move it over. Worst part about this place not having a bathroom is when you gotta shit. Fuck! Alright, so I just went ahead and went to sheets, and I'm back now. Feel better, much lighter. But I switched them out. I don't know, I'm not sure why. Maybe they use this subframe on. I don't even know why there'd be two sets of holes, but there is. So I put that in the correct set, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the T-bracket on now. This is a little bit, we gotta finagle it in because of the heater selector, but it's not like a big pain in the ass. Or maybe it is. It's been a while since I've done one, so.
Yep. It's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good. It's quite pungent. Oh, yeah. Stings the nostrils in a good way.
Yeah.
Brian, I would be honest with you, that
Bruh.
smells like pure gasoline.
What in the fuck?
60% of the time,
Hun!
it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Alright, so I'm having a little trouble getting the T-bracket in, so I'm just going to take the thermostat housing off. That way I can get the T-bracket in, then I'll put the thermostat housing back on. Because this is, I don't know why I can't seem to get it in, but whatever. I tell you, I've never had this much fucking pain in the ass putting a T-bracket on in my entire life. Just saying.
Listen.
Go ahead underneath here and get these two in. I'll be right back. Alright, so those two are in. Now the only one left is this one. Oh shit! Sketch! Now the parking brake's on. Cause that can't happen. Fucking finally going in. Finally! Fucking finally! I was able to fucking get the rear bolt in on the T-bracket. I'm doing the top one now, the middle one needs done. Then they all just need tightened. Then we can start hooking things up and hopefully we'll have the head on and torque tonight, but we'll see. Trying to get this shit out of the way and get to the fun stuff. So now that we got all the mounts on, we can just start hooking up shit. I already plugged in the speed sensor. Here, core hose. We'll have to see if this other one reaches the head. If not, have one from the swap bin that came with the swap that may work. So on the back of the block there's this black box. It's a PCV box. Basically any of the vapor that gets in the engine goes through this box, lets the oil drip down, and the vapor comes up, goes through the PCV valve, and gets burned through the engine for emission purposes. I don't want that shit. I don't want it to, you know, make the intake valves dirty or clog up the intake or anything like that. So I'm not gonna have the PCV valve. I'm not gonna use it at all. But I have to have a place for these gases to go, so they're not just filling up the engine bay. So the valve cover vent and this vent, I'm gonna have them running with a hose towards the ground, so any of the air that goes underneath the car can basically like pull the gases out of the engine, and it keeps the crankcase breathing basically. I bought some line. It's vinyl line, but I don't really care. And I'm gonna run them both together and probably down past the steering to just be down pointed at the ground. And the air running under the car will pull the gases out of the engine until it's boosted. Once it's boosted, I'll probably put that one. There's a AN fitting that you can screw into the bottom of that hole down there in the bottom of the block, and that will go to like a breather box or whatever, just so I can keep the engine evacuated from gases and won't blow out any seals or nothing like that, because that's definitely not what I want to happen. So, but for now, it'll work just fine. So we got to get some of the harness on. We've got to get the alternator brackets on, the alternator. If I do need to hammer the frame, I really don't want to. I might have to because of clearance issues, and hopefully I don't. For some odd reason, hopefully this doesn't have to need frame banging, but we'll see when it comes. half shaft axles, fill the transit fluid, put the head on. Basically, want to get everything done but the head and the intake manifold, so that's last. So I can just put the head on, cams in, time it, intake manifold, valve cover gasket, start that bitch up. Right? So let's go ahead and start getting the alternator bracket on and see if we have to hammer the frame at all. So it looks like I left the alternator brackets at home. I'm gonna bring those tomorrow morning and get those on. But I can still do the axles, put the half shaft in, get the axles in, get the coilovers back in, all the suspension stuff back together. That way, all we have to do is work our way up, and we should be done. Hopefully tomorrow. This is like a, I don't know, 6-day process, something like that. But I got the engine in by myself, which I'm glad. I thought I was going to need someone else, and there wasn't really too many people that could help me today, but my brother came by, but he had his son, my nephew, so but tomorrow I'll bring the alternator brackets, but for now I'm going to get the half shaft in, the axles in, and run the harness, a little bit of the harness.
Yep, it's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good. It's quite pungent. Oh, yeah. It stings the nostrils. In a good way.
Yeah.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
That doesn't make sense.
So for axles to fit in a CRX when you go B series, whatever intermediate shaft you use, you need to use that corresponding axle for that side. So intermediate shaft is on the driver's side. If you use a 94 to 2000 intermediate shaft, you'll have to use the 94 to 2000 axle for this side. I'm using a 93 GSR intermediate shaft, which is a female. So I bought a driver's side 93 Integra axle for this side. If it comes with the ABS ring, you need to remove it. Also, there will be a rubber dust ring on the axle. You have to remove that as well. And on the knuckle, this ring right here, this dust ring has to come out as well. You can have potential binding if you don't take this out, and cause you to wear out axles. So this gives the axle a little bit more room to free roam a little bit, so that you don't cause any binding or anything. So we have to go ahead and try and get this joint out of there. Usually they come out easy. Sometimes they'll be difficult. So just go ahead and pop it out. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, and then we'll fit our driver's side axle. Now you can usually grease your splines when you put them in the hub. I like using anti-seize because I don't like that shit being stuck in there. It's a pain in the ass to deal with, so I just avoid it all by using some anti-seize. Just like that, our axles are on this side.
So you know it's good.
Let's go put our axle in on the other side. I'm not gonna put any anti-seize on the inner of the other side because it should have transmission fluid on it eventually.
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
That doesn't make sense.
And our axles are in. all we gotta do is hook up our suspension, do our traction bar. Traction bar will probably be last, just because you have to kind of dial it in. Alright, well I'm gonna button up the suspension, get our coilovers back in, upper control arms bolted down, and then we'll catch right back up. So we got our suspension done, other than the lower bolt, because I'm gonna keep that out of the way so that when we install our traction bar, we'll have some room to tighten the bolts down. But now I'm gonna run some of the harness and get it ready in preparation for tomorrow. Well, I'm tired, and basically all I'm gonna get done for tonight, but I'll be back tomorrow morning and we'll get the head on, get the cams in, get the valves adjusted, and button her up, and she starts tomorrow. So check y'all in the morning. So either I lost them, or the machine shop lost them, or I wasn't given them when I bought the swap, but I don't have alternator brackets. So until I get them, I'm gonna hold off on doing anything else. Showed up today for nothing, but as soon as I get the brackets, we'll resume, and the head will go on, time it, and hopefully it starts that day. But I still have to see if I'm gonna have clearance issues with the alternator, which most likely probably will. Trying to see if I can run a D-series alternator. I know some people have done that before and it cleared, so I'm gonna see if I can do that. If I can't, I guess I'll just have to fucking bang out the frame a little bit and go from there. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Deuces.